All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to week 3 of A Year of Hopes, Dreams, and Connections. A few housekeeping items before we get to our presentation today. The session is recorded and it'll be posted up on our website so you can view it at a later date. There is closed captioning available. And for questions, please post them in the Q&A function. If there's one that is similar to yours or the same question, you can give it a little thumbs up to bump it up to the top. And with whatever remaining time we have at the end, we will get to questions. If we don't have any time at the end, you will have Jenny's email and could email her a question if we don't have time to get to them. So, like I said, our speaker today is Jenny Laub, an extension educator from OSU Extension, and her presentation is titled Fueling Your Journey, Maximizing Energy. So please welcome Jenny.
Well, thank you all for being here with me today as we are right in the middle of this 5-week series. Last week, my colleague Shannon talked about finding your purpose, and today we'll talk about finding your energy to pursue that purpose. So to review what was covered last week, Shannon talked about first defining your purpose, acknowledging that that was not going to happen during the 20 or 30-minute talk, but she provided some information and some resources so you could start thinking about your purpose. And then she shared how you could clarify your priorities and align your goals with that purpose. And we will come back to goal setting at the end of today's talk. So we are talking about maximizing your energy. And I want to say right up front that a lot of the content I am going to go through today, I learned in the Health Athlete course. If you're not familiar with that, Health Athlete is available to all of us who work for OSU. I took it back in 2018 when it was a 1-day workshop, and that is still an option. However, now you can also do it virtually, do an hour a week for 7 weeks virtually if that fits your schedule a little bit better. And the aim of Health Athlete is to increase one's capacity to perform in high stress environments without compromising their health or happiness. And it kind of goes beyond this idea of work-life balance and goes beyond time management to focus on energy management. Because the reality is that the average person's energy capacity peaks around the age of 25 or 30, but demands on our time tend to increase with age. And many of those demands are due to things we choose to take on, like raising families or taking promotions at work, but that does not lessen the squeeze we feel trying to do more in less time. And so since we are unable to add more hours to the day, no matter what, experts suggest that we take this energy management approach to feel more satisfied and less stressed in life. So that's what I'll be talking about today, giving some of the high points of this idea of energy management. And just to give you a little, little testimonial, if you will. So I did Health Athlete back in 2018. And a lot has happened in the last 4 years, right? That's biggest understatement ever. We've all lived through this global phenomenon of the pandemic. So I had kind of forgotten a lot of this content. But in addition to that, I was pregnant with my son back in 2018, and he is now an active 4-year-old. So this is my reality. You know, I have more demands on my time now than I did back then. Promotion at work, being a parent with a full-time job. And as a health educator, of course, I know how important self-care is. And yet even I have struggled to put it into practice. So last week, Shannon talked about those big rocks and putting those big rocks in your jar first. The reality being that if we just try to keep up with the day-to-day demands, that's kind of like filling our jar with gravel or sand, and we find that there's no room for those big rocks at the end of the day. And that's kind of what's happened to me. Shannon shared that physical health is one of those big rocks for a lot of people, and I would say that's true of me. And yet, when I have tried to keep up with the day-to-day demands, that's something I kind of let go, and I've paid a toll because of that. I've been living with chronic neck pain, and I've seen a specialist, I've seen a physical therapist, and guess what? They've said there's been no traumatic event. I've just become more sedentary over the past few years, and I've lost muscle mass. So right now, a priority for me is prioritizing my strength training again, visits to the gym, doing exercises from my office or at home with resistance bands and light dumbbells, so that this pain doesn't get any worse. So for me right now, prioritizing my physical health is something I'm actively working on. And that kind of leads us into these 4 dimensions of energy when we're talking about energy management. Energy management is going to involve intentional choices in each of these dimensions: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And here they're laid out side by side. You can kind of think of it them as building on one another, like a pyramid, if you like that visual, with physical energy being the foundation. Physical energy is the quantity of our energy. It's what we probably most often think about, or is most familiar when you hear that word energy. Physical energy defines how tired we tend to feel and how well we tend to feel in our physical bodies. Mental energy then is the focus of our energy. And maybe you can recall a time when you have felt fine physically, but mentally you were exhausted or tired. We all have mental tasks that can either drain us or energize us. So we'll talk about some things you could do to maximize your mental energy. Emotional energy is the quality of your energy, and that comes from connecting with others. We'll talk more about some emotional energy strategies. And then spiritual energy is the force of your energy. It's what comes from doing things that are meaningful to you, from pursuing your purpose. That's why clarifying your priorities and aligning those goals is so important. You're going to feel more energized and more well when things are in alignment. And you might think about, in this dimension, maybe there was a time when you were working long hours, up late, and you were becoming physically and even mentally tired, but somehow you still had that energy to continue. And that's because you were doing something that had fundamental meaning to you. So we'll look at each of these dimensions a little bit more closely, and I'll provide some strategies that you might consider to improve your energy in each of these dimensions. I do want to say right up front, I would encourage you to consider maybe one thing that you want to work on this coming week. You know, it's not a good idea to try to do all the things I go over. I'm providing you with lots of strategies and suggestions and ideas, but trying to do them all at once would be exhausting. So maybe think about one thing you might want to try to focus on in the coming weeks. So thinking about physical energy, again, this is the quantity of your energy, how tired and how well you feel in your physical body. Some things you could do to improve your physical energy are getting enough sleep. It's recommended we get about 7 to 8 hours a night as adults. Staying active. Physical activity has so many benefits. I could do a whole session just on physical activity. But of course, the recommendation is to aim for at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity activity a week to get the health benefits, both mental and physical health benefits. But we know that any movement is better than none. So taking breaks regularly, stretch breaks, movement breaks, sitting less and moving more is going to be beneficial. You also want to stay hydrated. So hydrating your body with water over sugar sweetened beverages, and then also nourishing your body with nutritious foods. And again, I could do a whole session on fueling your body literally with the nutrition that you are putting into your physical body. And in fact, I do have some sessions on this month because it is National Nutrition Month. But for our purpose today, I'll leave you with a couple of resources. If you want to learn more about healthy eating, My Plate, of course, is a wonderful resource. You can also visit nationalnutritionmonth.org for many resources. The theme this year is Fuel for the Future, which gets at eating with the environment in mind. So it takes into consideration both our physical health, but also the health of the environment. So some great resources at that website as well. But for now, we'll move on to talking about improving your mental energy. Again, this is the focus of your energy. Some things you could do to improve your mental energy are slowing down. Easier said than done, right? Taking things one step at a time. We all do it, but multitasking is not the best option. It can actually slow you down, increase the likelihood of making an error. So for tasks that may require your full attention, finding a quiet space to work and focus is better. And sometimes just giving yourself permission to slow down, either out loud or repeating that in your head can be helpful. I've noticed some of my colleagues recently adding taglines to their emails, like, I am slowing down and I invite you to do the same. Or maybe my workday may look different from yours. So I'm sending this message at a time convenient to me. Please respond at your own convenience. So sometimes just giving ourselves that permission to slow down a little bit can be helpful. Taking breaks, I mentioned already, stretch breaks and movement breaks. Sometimes just taking a break from the work itself can be helpful, whether there's movement incorporated in that, or maybe it's a mindfulness break. Maybe it's just a break from technology. That can be incredibly helpful too. We are surrounded by so much noise and so many notifications. Especially when we're online, notifications coming from email and apps and on our smartphones. You might consider turning off notifications, either just for a focus section or maybe permanently. I like to share that on my phone, I try to minimalize the notifications I have turned on. I don't have notifications on for most of my apps. I have them on for things like text messages, like the ways that people may most often reach out to me, but I don't need to know every time an email comes in or things like that. Practicing mindfulness can also be a way to improve your mental energy. There are many resources available on mindfulness. That's another thing that could be a whole session in itself. I have linked on this slide the Just Breathe website from Your Plan for Health. If you're not familiar with that, it's a good one. And maybe if you even are familiar with it, it's a good one to revisit or bookmark on your computer as a cue to take a break occasionally and just take a deep breath, taking time to process and reflect. So time management strategies are actually a way to improve your mental energy. And so I've listed a couple of those here as well. Chunking your time, if it works for you. Some people find scheduling specific times of the day to check emails helpful so that you're not on your email all day long. You just check it at certain points in the day. If that is not feasible or maybe too big of a step at this point in time, maybe doing something like a power hour, like first thing in the morning, you have that first hour of the day to get your most important or difficult tasks done, and avoid checking phone or email messages during that time. Sometimes just writing down your goal for the day can be helpful, or spending a few minutes each morning preparing or even visualizing the day's events. And then finding ways to relax. That's going to look different for everybody, but having something in your day that you enjoy, that you can look forward to, is a way to improve your mental energy. And that might be meditation or prayer. It could be yoga, going for a walk. It might be something like watching your favorite show or listening to a favorite song. Just doing something that you enjoy doing can help improve your mental energy. When we look at the emotional energy dimension, again, this is the quality of your energy that comes from connecting with others. Most people know that they tend to perform best when they're feeling positive. But what may be surprising is that we are not able to perform well when we're feeling any other way. And when we're confronted with relentless demands or challenges, we tend to slip into more negative emotions. That fight or flight mode kicks in, often multiple times in the day. And if we don't have that emotional awareness where we can realize what's happening, we may become irritable or impatient or anxious, and those can drain our energy. So one really simple but powerful way to diffuse those negative emotions is deep breathing. So taking time to just take a few deep breaths is a way to turn off that fight or flight response. You can proactively work to increase the quality of your emotional energy by trying to be positive. So doing those affirmations, having a positive outlook in your life can help you live healthier and longer. And surrounding yourself with positive people or with energizers is a really powerful way to keep that positive outlook. You can probably all think of people in your life who energize you, and then on the other hand, maybe people who drain your energy. So trying to be present with people, surrounding yourself with positive people to the extent possible, and minimize interactions with people who drain your energy is one way to increase the quality of your energy or improve your emotional energy. And then being present with people when they are literally in your presence. So if you're looking to improve your emotional energy, you put the phone away when you're talking with someone in person. Really take time to listen. If you're not like physically present with people, then having those rituals in your life where you're reaching out to friends or family regularly, picking up the phone and giving someone a call, or sending those text messages, that can be a way to improve your emotional energy. You might also find ways to connect with other people through a community or faith-based organization, or maybe find a way to volunteer and meet people that way, or even do some sort of a group-based class, like a group fitness class, or take a class at a community center if you're looking for ways to connect with people. Laughter is also really powerful, and not only can boost your mood, but it can provide some physical exercise too and decrease your chance of respiratory infections. So taking time to laugh, looking for those jokes or memes, writing down funny things can help improve your emotional energy. Spending time with children or pets can be helpful. Getting plenty of vitamin D, your daily dose of vitamin G, being gratitude, is important. And you might keep a gratitude journal if that's helpful, to look back on things that have happened that you're grateful for when you're having a harder time. And doing acts of kindness, whether it's a random act of kindness or just lending a helping hand, giving a compliment, doing a favor, can help boost your emotional energy and also spread that positive energy to others. So finally, we'll look at spiritual energy, the force of your energy. And some ways you could improve your spiritual energy. This is where what Shannon shared last week on finding your purpose comes into play. So to be able to do something that's meaningful to you, you need to know what's meaningful to you. So taking time to explore what your purpose may be, maybe writing down your purpose or creating a personal mission statement, and then aligning your priorities and goals in life to that can improve your spiritual energy. So you might ask yourself some questions, reflect on questions like, who is currently getting your energy? And is that energy flow aligned with what you want or value in life? And if the answer is no, then what could you do differently to invest your time and energy in the things and people that do matter most to you? And sometimes we have to set some boundaries here, which is another thing that is easier said than done. Sometimes we have to say no to some things in order to say yes to others. And I don't know where this quote came from, but I think it is right on point when we're thinking about spiritual energy and setting boundaries. It's good to keep in mind that we are not required to set ourselves on fire to keep others warm. And I've linked a blog article from a fellow extension educator, Dr. Scammahorn, titled "No is a Complete Sentence." And this blog reminds us that saying no is sometimes necessary, even though it's often hard to do. And she provides some tips to perhaps make that easier. So kind of summarizing some of the key points of energy management across these dimensions, how can you better manage your energy? Taking time to rest and recuperate. We can't stay at high energy all the time. So having time to rest and recuperate really is essential. Don't hang on to the negatives. Negative emotions can really drain our energy fast. Give yourself a daily boost, whatever that means to you, whether that's sending a text to a friend, listening to a song that you enjoy, spending time outdoors. It's going to look different for everybody. And then to the extent possible, identify and get rid of things that drain your energy. So what I want to challenge you to do in the coming week is to set a goal for yourself. Shannon talked about goal setting and went over SMART goals last week, talking about purpose. Here, SMART goal setting is really more immediate. So you want to think about what is one thing you could do this week. Make it specific rather than saying, for example, I want to exercise more. Maybe I want to go for a walk 3 days this week. You want it to be measurable so you know whether you've achieved it. Attainable. So if you're not walking at all right now, maybe 3 days is attainable. Maybe it's 1 or 2 days. Relevant and time bound. If SMART goal setting just really isn't appealing to you right at the moment, I did want to share a couple of other tools or ideas you could use to help establish a new habit or ritual or routine. Habit stacking is one idea. This was a concept that was popularized by James Clear, who's the author of Atomic Habits. And the basic idea is identifying something that you're already doing, something that's already a habit, and adding another habit to that. So for example, if you like to brew coffee in the morning, could you walk in place or do some lunges or squats or something while you're making your coffee to get a little physical activity? That's an example of habit stacking. The American Heart Association has a helpful, fairly new website called The Habit Coach that you could check out. Just has some tips and encouragement for creating habits and making them stick. They have a series of really short videos, like 2 to 5 minute videos on creating habits. And then another alternative to SMART goal setting is creating an action plan. It's very similar in that you are specifying something that you want to do, and you're answering all those important questions. How much, when, how often? So you're specifying what you want to do, how many times a day, how many times a week, how long the duration or the distance, and when. So it really gets you thinking more specifically about how exactly you will put this behavior into practice in the coming days. So to sum up everything I've talked about today, our skill building for this week are to manage your energy, not your time, to improve your overall health and well-being. Identify strategies across all those dimensions of energy management, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, that work for you. And then use goal setting, action planning, habit stacking to establish new habits, routines, or rituals. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to Nicole.
All right. Thank you so much, Jenny. This was wonderful. As a reminder, we did record this, so the recording will be posted up on the website in the next 2 days or so. And when you exit the webinar, you will be sent a program evaluation and knowledge check questions. If you could please take just a few minutes to fill those out. And then next week, we'll be joined by Patrice Powers Barker from OSU Extension, who will be presenting on There's a Bend in the Road, Adapting to Life Transitions. And I don't see any questions in the Q&A box. I'll leave it up for another minute or so. If any last minute one comes in. If not, you can contact Jenny. And have a great day, everybody. We will see you next week.